Merseyside police name a woman who was shot dead as she celebrated Christmas. 26-year-old Ellie Edwards was killed on Christmas Eve. Her family described her as a special daughter. In the last hour, a man has been arrested on suspicion of her murder. Also on the programme. The death toll rises again as a severe winter storm sweeps across North America. Some Christmas cheer for the high street as more people head to the Boxing Day sales. And the Premier League is back, and Arsenal extend their lead at the top.
This is ITV News with Geraint Vincent.
Good evening. Ellie Edwards was celebrating Christmas Eve like so many others, enjoying a night out with her friends. But shortly before midnight, shots were fired at the entrance of a pub in Wallasey, and the 26-year-old beautician was fatally injured. Tonight, police arrested 2 people in connection with her death, a 30-year-old man on suspicion of murder and a 19-year-old woman on suspicion of conspiracy to murder. Ellie was described in one tribute today as someone who brought happiness to people's lives. Ben Chapman reports.
It is not how any family should have to spend Christmas. The father of Ellie Edwards was among some 30 relatives who came here on Boxing Day to leave flowers and tributes outside the pub where she was shot dead on Christmas Eve, while out celebrating with her sister and friends. Ellie was 26, a beautician who died after being shot in the head by a gunman who'd opened fire at the pub entrance. Police don't believe she was the intended target. Her colleagues posted today, "We are heartbroken, thinking of your family right now, Ellie. Thank you for all the laughs and happiness you brought into our lives. Rest in paradise, Angel." This afternoon, officers continued their investigation, searching for any clues to help them identify the gunman and their motive. They say a dark car, possibly a Mercedes, left the pub car park minutes after the shooting and want to speak to its driver. As police continue their meticulous search of the area around the pub, the flowers and the tributes continue to mount up, describing her as an angel, a beautiful soul, and her father saying that he has lost the light of his life. The leader of the council here implored anyone who knows who's responsible to speak up.
I can't tell you how angry I am at the individual and the people involved in this. How dare they take someone's life from them? If anyone knows, has any information about this, you need to let the police know, or us as a council know. And quite honestly, if you don't, then you're complicit in this.
The flowers left by Ellie Edwards' family join many more left by members of this community, shocked and angered by an act of violence at what should be a time of celebration, which has robbed a young woman of her future. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Wallasey.
A 10th person has died after an explosion at a block of flats in Jersey earlier this month. 73-year-old Kathleen McGuinness, who was injured and had been in hospital since December the 10th, died on Christmas Day. She lived in a building next to the one that collapsed. The Russian Defense Ministry has said that a Ukrainian drone attack in southern Russia has left 3 people dead. CCTV footage on social media appears to show the moment of the strike at the Engels Air Base in the early hours of this morning. Russia says its air defences shot down the drone and that falling debris killed 3 technical staff. A spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force said the explosions were the result of what Russia was doing on Ukrainian soil. Authorities have likened the blizzard conditions in the US city of Buffalo to a war zone where people have frozen to death in their cars after getting stranded on the roads. The city in New York State is the area worst affected by a severe winter storm that has held much of North America in its grip and which has now claimed at least 50 lives. Callum Watkinson reports.
This restaurant in New York State promised on its website to reopen when it's safe. But for now it remains closed, encased in frozen fragments thrown up from Lake Erie. The city of Buffalo has been hit hardest by this blizzard, the worst for many decades. In Erie County, 25 people have died. A break in the weather has revealed exactly where.
It is painful to find members of your community that are deceased, who were trying to walk out during storm conditions, got disoriented, and passed away out in the street, to retrieve fatalities, people who passed away in cars.
Others died at home, the total nationwide now thought to be above 50. Abandoned cars litter the roads, and a driving ban across a large part of western New York State reflects a worry that there is more of this to come.
We know that the storm is coming back. We're expecting another 6 to 12 inches. So anyone who declares victory and says it's over, it is way too early to say. Maybe the severity is downplaying now, and right now it's not as bad as it had been over the last couple of days, but it is still a dangerous situation.
Drone operators at Lake Michigan captured the beauty that these conditions can create. But on the whole, the white Christmas of 2022 has been more of a nightmare than something to dream about. Callum Watkinson, ITV News.
And heavy snow has also caused devastation in Japan, where 17 people are now dead and more than 90 injured. There has been heavy snowfall in the northern regions of the country since last week, leaving thousands of homes without power and hundreds of vehicles stranded on icy roads. Parts of the northeast reported 3 times their average snowfall for the season. Now, there was concern from retailers that the Boxing Day sales would be down this year with rail strikes and the cost of living crisis keeping shoppers away. But early indications suggest that footfall was up this morning by as much as half on this time last year. Despite the increase, customer numbers are still much smaller than they were before the pandemic, and the sales aren't what they used to be, as Ian Woods reports.
Come on in, you come, it won't cost you nothing to walk around the store.
It's harder than ever to get people to part with their money.
Come on in, you come, ladies and gents, we're clearing stock for less.
Even if it is a bargain. Soaring inflation and energy costs, plus the impact of rail strikes, had led to dire predictions for Boxing Day sales. But early figures suggested Britain's shops were busier than this time last year.
So we've had strong footfall for Boxing Day, but the weather's been gorgeous, it's been sunny. Last year, some people were still very concerned about COVID. It would be very unwise to be too optimistic for 2023. We've still got inflation in double digits, and we've still got wage growth a lot lower and strikes galore. So I think this might be a bit of a temporary boost.
And we don't yet know how much they were actually spending.
Everything has just gone up in price a lot lately. But yeah, it's useful to have the sales where then, you can grab a few bargains.
It's quite busy, but I thought it would be busier than that.
Look at my hands. They're filled. Yes, I got some great deals.
For decades, Boxing Day was a shopping bonanza.
Excuse me, are they good bargains? How much have they been reduced?
Even 10 years ago, you'd see long queues from before dawn. And department stores would invite cameras inside to film the rush of bargain hunters. This year, amid gloomy retail forecasts, we were told to stay outside on the street. Online shopping has had a big impact on footfall, of course, but there's no denying that times are hard.
I think it's all about the economical situation in the country, and everybody has to think about twice, maybe more than 2 times, when they make purchase, take decisions about buying something.
One bonus for London in particular, the streets were full of tourists who can take advantage of the generous exchange rate due to our economic woes. Ian Woods, ITV News.
The Ministry of Defence says more than 90 people crossed the English Channel in 2 small boats on Christmas Day. More than 45,000 migrants have made the dangerous crossing from France to England so far this year. Earlier this month, the Prime Minister announced a range of plans to try to stop the crossings. The UK Health Security Agency has said it will stop publishing modelling data on coronavirus next month. At the height of the pandemic, the reproductive rate, known as the R rate, was updated every week. The chief data scientist says it's no longer necessary thanks to vaccines. And the King's first Christmas message to the nation attracted the highest viewing figures for a monarch's address since records began. More channels than ever carried the speech at 3 o'clock yesterday, and the combined audience was 10.7 million. Now, earlier this year, the death of Queen Elizabeth was marked by the ringing of church bells across the country, part of a centuries-old tradition to mark the death of a monarch. It is a familiar sound in our national life, of course, but one that might in future be heard much less often because of the dwindling number of trained bell ringers. Rachel Townsend reports.
It is a sound synonymous with Christmas and dates back to the 8th century. But could bell ringing soon become a thing of the past? Bill Todd leads a group in West Yorkshire and is doing all he can to keep the tradition going.
Some of these bells that we ring go back to 1300s, and that connection with history I find really fascinating. And we wouldn't want it to die out, let's put it that way.
But that is exactly the fear. Numbers of bell ringers are dwindling, threatening its future.
We'd lose what people think is one of England's greatest sounds. People think of the bells coming from the church and the cricket pitch.
But these youngsters in Lancaster are more than happy to pull their weight in the hope that the art of bell ringing is preserved for decades to come.
We're the future generation. We're the ones who are going to keep it going.
My granddad started bell ringing at our local church, and as soon as I found out, I just immediately wanted to join in.
I heard them every week and it was so interesting, so I just wanted to find out more.
There are currently 38,000 bells in England, with only 30,000 people trained to ring them. With the majority now over 60, it's feared an absence of youth could soon begin to take its toll. Rachel Townsend, ITV News.
Now, after a 6-week break for the World Cup, the Premier League is back, and at the top of it, Arsenal were looking to extend their lead against London rivals West Ham, and Liverpool had a chance to make some ground on the top four as they took on Aston Villa. Chris Scudder has been following the action.
Clear at the top, but now the big test. Would Arsenal be tripped up in their title tilt? West Ham threw a spanner in the works with Ben Rama's penalty.
West Ham lead at the Emirates.
But the league leaders showed they might just take some shifting. England's Bukayo Saka got them level, and Brazil's Martinelli sent the Emirates into delirium with a second goal.
Goalkeeper caught out of the near post.
Arsenal may have lost star striker Gabriel Jesus to injury during the World Cup, but the man who's replaced him, Eddie Nketiah, came in to score the clincher. The Gunners now 7 points clear at the top.
That's a fantastic goal, it really is.
Liverpool will hope their post-World Cup season beats what happened before it, and they were off to a flying start at Villa Park through Mo Salah. The Egyptian wizard who missed out on Qatar set up the second for Virgil van Dijk. And although Villa pulled one back, Liverpool scored a third goal to edge closer to the top four.
Fantastic from Bajcetic, and Liverpool lead by 3 goals to 1.
Harry Kane did not let his Doha disappointment last long. After missing the penalty that cost England dear against France, he scored in his first game back as Spurs came from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 at Brentford.
Harry Kane back on the horse.
And watch out for Newcastle after a 3-0 win at Leicester, and with their mound of Middle Eastern money, they are up to second place tonight. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And finally, if you were feeling a little sluggish this morning after your Christmas feast, well, there's nothing like a swim in the sea to wake yourself up, is there? From Aberdeen down to Kent, thousands of people across the UK charged into the chilly coastal waters as part of a Boxing Day tradition. Some did it to raise money for charity, and others, well, who knows? And that's all we have time for now. As always, you can keep up to date on our website, itvnews.com, and now on the ITVX streaming service too. From all the team here, though, thank you for watching. Good night.